Welcome to the Messenger-Inquirer Gridiron Report, sponsored by Crandall's Home Furnishings and Carpets Unlimited. I'm Scott Hagerman, and with me is Jim Pickens. And Jim, I feel like this is kind of the weekend where things really kind of started to take shape as far as looking ahead to the postseason.
Yeah, this was a weekend where the rubber kind of met the road, Scott. You know, there were some key games and teams really needed to step up. Some did, some didn't, and that's just sort of when we get this late in the season, all of these games are crucial, and this past week was certainly a crucial week.
Absolutely. Well, let's start it out by looking at 2A, and we're going to roll a clip of Fort Campbell coming into Hancock County to play the Hornets. This was a key 2A matchup. You know, at one time, you know, we thought Hancock was looking like a team that could win this district.
Yes.
Unfortunately for the Hornets, things didn't go their way Friday night. Fort Campbell wins 42-15. Now, all of a sudden, Hancock County is without question on the road.
Yes.
First game of the playoffs with this loss. How much did it surprise you, the margin?
The margin did surprise me with this being a home game for Hancock County. Fort Campbell came in 2-5, and we knew that they had some key people who had been hurt most of the season, Scott, and they've gotten some of those guys back, and obviously it's made a big difference. The quarterback, Aaron Hills, had 310 yards of total offense. He runs for 2 touchdowns. He passes for 2. That's a big weapon for them, you know. I mean, all of a sudden, when you've got talent like that has not been there before.
Having Trey Powell back has been big for them also.
Trey Powell's a great player, and I mean, all of a sudden Fort Campbell goes from a team that was at one point 1-5 to a team that's suddenly looking like a serious district championship threat all over again.
What surprised me is, you know, Hancock gets the early score in the third quarter to make it 12-8, and boy, you think the Hornets, you know, they found something. They've done a great job holding Fort Campbell to 12 points in the first half. I guarantee you Chris Morris would have taken that going into the game if you'd have said you're going to hold Fort Campbell to 12 points at halftime. But, boy, it's a team that just wears you down.
Yep.
You know, when you have that big hit speed ability,
yes,
you know how that is. It's just like you're waiting for the dam to break, and I think we saw that in the second half.
And that is what happened. I think what happens is for a team like Hancock County, they're a good team, they're a good defensive team in spots, but the problem is that you've got Fort Campbell is a team, Scott, that has big play threat on every play. So, I mean, if you stop them on 3 plays, that 4th play, guys liable to break loose and go for a 60-yard run on you. And it's just very demoralizing. And I think once the tide shifts in a game like that, once the momentum changes, it's hard to get it back.
Right. We do need to mention the Hornets were a little bit shorthanded. Eric Doyle was out with a knee injury he had suffered in the previous game against Owensboro Catholic. Still not certain of his status for the rest of the year. Dylan Hubbard has his usual outstanding game, 18 carries for 109 yards, 1 TD. Matt Rapp throws for 114 yards. You know, it's not that the Hornets weren't able to get anything done offensively. It was just a case that Fort Campbell just had a little bit too much in this game.
That's what it turned out to be. Fort Campbell's speed and athleticism showed up in this game, and that was the difference.
And, you know, it's disappointing for Hancock. You know, here, 10 days ago, they're sitting there thinking we can win the district championship.
Sure.
10 days later, not only can you not win the district, you can't even get a home playoff game. That's
right.
Off the table now.
Tough.
So Hancock's going to have to really refocus. And, you know, they've got Todd left, and they should be able to do business there.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of a real downer for Hancock County.
It's a downer, and what happens is in a 4-team district like this where you've got 3 heavyweights, let's face it. I mean, even Fort Campbell was down early this year, but they're a 3-time defending state champion. They've got a lot of pride. We knew if they got healthy, they'd be dangerous. Turns out they are. Catholic's up this year. So you've got Hancock Catholic and Fort Campbell, and there's only room for 2.
That's right.
And once you lose that first one, as Hancock did to Catholic, that put them in a must-win situation to get a home playoff game, and it just didn't work out for them.
Well, let's look at the other half of the 2A district, and that was Todd County Central coming into Steele Stadium, play the Owensboro Catholic Aces. I don't think we were expecting a nail-biter in this one, and it certainly didn't turn out that way either. Catholic just dominated every aspect in a 61-14 win. And I said this in my game story, and I talked to Coach John Edge about it afterwards. What impressed me was Catholic had kind of multiple things going against them. It was fall break, they were playing an inherited team, and maybe more than anything, they had Fort Campbell sitting out there 7 days away. So they had a lot of things that could distract them. So it impresses me, even though obviously, you know, they overmatched Todd County. still, they did what they needed to do, and that's impressive, I think.
Yeah, it is impressive, and I think another thing that strikes me about this game is that Hancock County had really shut down Russell Hayden the previous week, Scott. They did an excellent job against him, and as we've talked about Russell, he's one of those two-way threats as a receiver and a runner, and he found his niche again in this game. He gained 151 yards, and he scored 4 touchdowns, and that's how games like this can be beneficial to you. Even though it's a lopsided game, a kid can get his confidence back and kind of get his mojo going again, and that's what happened with Russell. And, you know, once again, Isaac Hardesty just really lit it up through the air. He's had a great season, and, of course, Zach Brett hauled in a couple of those touchdown passes. They've got so many weapons that Todd was just overmatched.
You could see from the start what the Catholic game plan was. They knew they could dominate the offensive line, and they just came out and just hammered. Russell running just basically at will up the middle, you know, on pitches. Isaac throws 4 TDs to 3 different receivers, so it shows that weapons again. You know, Ryan Hogg has a big touchdown. Master Riney has a big touchdown reception. They just have so many weapons. It's going to take a team, I guess, of the Fort Campbell caliber to really see if you can stop this team.
Yeah, that's why the matchup coming up is so big. You know, it's going to be interesting to see if Fort Campbell can handle them. Catholic can just hurt you all over the field, Scott. I think that, you know, the thing that is really difficult when you're facing Catholic is that you just don't know where the next missile's going to go. I mean, it could just go to the outside, to the inside. Hardesty could keep it. I've seen him have some great rushing games. So, I mean, they've just got so many weapons, they're almost impossible to defend one-on-one.
We just saw a couple nice plays there by Todd County Central. Boards, their quarterback, a nice player, ran for a big gain, and then he threw a real nice touchdown there in the first half. But after that, boy, Catholic's defense just absolutely put the clamps on them. And I think that's the real question going into the Fort Campbell game. Can they slow that speed of Fort Campbell?
Yeah, that'll be the key to this game as far as whether or not Catholic can pull off what would be a huge road win. It's tough to win at Fort Campbell, and they're going to have to play excellent defense in order to have a chance.
I think this is, though, a defense that probably is underrated because the offense gets so much attention.
Yeah, and I think it's also a defense that's gotten better as this season has gone along. I don't think this defense was, to be frank, I don't think they were very good at the start of the season. I think that they're much better now.
Before we go to our first break, let's talk briefly about the 3A matchup we had this week. That was McLean County going down to Paducah to play Paducah-Tilghman. Tilghman ranked number 3, no question. They're one of the best teams in the class. 66-7. There's really nothing McLean could do in this game other than show up and you know, and take the beat down. Really, I mean, they had no options here.
No, and you know, you got to remember McLean beat Paducah-Tilghman last year.
Right.
That didn't help the matters, you know, any for Coach McCammon, who's of course new head coach there. It's just been that kind of season for McLean. They beat some people last year, and there's been some revenge factors this year, and this was one of those games because Paducah-Tilghman, I mean, we're talking about one of the most prideful programs in the entire state, and last year McLean actually handled them pretty good.
Right.
And yeah, I think that Tilghman just kind of wanted to show who's boss and put an exclamation point on this game.
McLean is just going through the thing all small schools go through, is that some years you're just going to be down.
It's that cycle.
It doesn't matter how hard you play. It doesn't matter schemes. It doesn't matter anything. You're just going to be down, and unfortunately, they're going through one of those spells. And hopefully, this pays off next year.
We hope so.
That's all you can say about that.
Right.
Well, we're going to take a quick 30-second break, and then we'll be back to talk about the 5A and 6A matchups from this past weekend.